Turn the headphones up.
Hey, oh,
Yeah. Well, I guess you can call me a dreamer,
hey,
but I do believe
oh,
that things will change.
oh,
We've been through the storm.
yeah,
We've gone through the valley.
oh,
There's nowhere else to go but up.
we shall overcome.
We will
We shall
overcome.
overcome. We shall overcome. Someday.
Now, if you believe that,
Someday.
just help me sing it.
We shall overcome. We shall
overcome.
We shall overcome.
We shall overcome racism,
We shall overcome.
hatred,
Someday.
jealousy. Now, even if you don't believe it, help me say this.
We'll walk hand in hand.
I believe that.
We'll walk hand in hand.
I already see it.
We'll walk hand in hand.
Yeah.
Someday.
See, it don't matter what color you are, where you come from.
We'll walk hand in hand.
You're my brother.
We'll walk hand in hand.
You're my sister, my friend.
We'll walk hand in hand.
Yeah.
Someday.
I really like this part right here. Freedom.
We will all be free. We will all be free. We will all be free.
I believe it and I receive it today.
We will all be free.
Freedom.
Someday.
Now just help me say it one more time if you believe that. We will all be free.
We will all be free.
Free from our father's sins. Free from our own sins. Free from racism, from jealousy, from hatred.
We'll all be free.
Someday.
Someday.
Let's take it to the chorus. Oh, deep in my heart.
Deep in my heart.
I do believe
I do
that
believe we shall overcome.
yes,
Someday.
let it be today.
Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening again. Thank you all for joining from around the world. Again, this is our fourth episode of BEST program. BEST stands for, as you all know, Bangladeshi Entrepreneurs Society of Talents. In addition to empowering the entrepreneurs around the world from Bangladeshi origin, we also promote our next generation. We have taken on these great responsibilities of boosting our next generation up and make them successful and bring in their leadership in front of you. So as every weekend on Saturdays at 12 noon, we want your support to encourage your next generation, because they're our future. And like last few weeks, we have brought in 7 superstars again, along with 2 great moderators that you all know. And so today's topic is a little different. Our panelists are a little older than the last few weeks. They're either in college or they have graduated and they're in the workforce. So we're going to talk about how they're coping with, COVID-19 situation, staying home and taking classes from home, as well as working from home. So it's a big change in the mindset, change in day-to-day activities. So without further ado, let's hear from them. But before I do that, let me bring our moderators, Farhana Mo and Zarafsha Ahmed. And hey, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. How are you, Mo? How are you, Zara?
Perfect. It's Saturday.
Okay, you're ready?
Yep, ready to go.
Okay, excellent. So I'm going to go backstage again and enjoy the show, and I'll be back at the end. And again, the goal is to bring them up front in front of you. And I really encourage all of you, all the parents and the viewers you're watching, please bring your kids in this platform. It's a very, very powerful platform. You can get them to lead in the next era. So this is the best way to encourage your next generation. Thank you again. And Momen and Zara, take it away.
Thank you. So, good afternoon, friends. We are in our fourth episode of Best Talks. Can't believe we have actually spent a good 1 month talking to all of you. So, I'm Farhana Zaman Mo, and here's my co host, Zarafsha. She will be hosting the show for the later part. So, talking about BEST, it really represents a network of highly mobilized individuals. They are the young voices of the millennials. They talk, and what they talk helps us raise awareness, discuss issues that impact our lives the most. This week, our topic revolves around working individuals and how quarantine has impacted their lives, their jobs, their internships. And I've actually heard people sitting at home because they work in retail and food industries. I've heard how 8 hours of work hours have translated or extended to 12 hours. Experienced myself how uncertain finances and job securities have become. And yet, we're taking one day at a time to adjust to the new normal. And our squad today will be discussing their own experiences about their working lives in the new normal. So, before I begin, let me introduce you to the rest of the panel today. So, we have with us Khandakar Taswir Akbar Akbar. Then there is Khandakar Tasif Akbar, and he's nicknamed Itmam. We have
Hello.
Neha Ahmed, we call her Nisa. Then we have Farhan Kadir.
Hi.
Then we have Nikita Rahman. Then we have Fahmi Rahman.
Hello.
And we have Ahsan Sajid. So thank you all so much for joining the show today, and really looking forward to listening to what you guys have to say about this new normal life. So I would like to start talking with Akur first. So Akur, you're a senior in sunny Farmingdale, and you work as a part-time delivery driver. So
Yep.
tell me this, offices at this point of time are thinking about promoting or they're planning rotation hours, so that there are people getting into the office because I guess, I mean, at some point of time, we need to get to office. And even though remote access is mostly possible, but we want to get to office and work. That would mean obviously folks going to the office, and there is a very good dynamic rotation plan that they have in place. But how safe do you think this is, considering the
So
current circumstances?
I personally believe that it's still not safe enough to be going out
Mhm.
because our treatments right now, they're making progress, but they're not 100% confirmed. This will help everybody. This is going to be widespread. Everybody can get access to this. There's no confirmation yet. The world is still in a pandemic, and this is not like this does not go through blood. This is as contagious as the flu. And there's just going to be another surge if we just keep going out like that. We can't be immediately reopening until there's confirmation, hey, everybody, we're safe again. Or there's a vaccine, there's some sort of treatment to make sure that not everybody's going to be going out and having another problem we did in China and Italy.
But you know, eventually it will happen. I mean, I understand that it's not normal yet, but it will happen where people will be thinking about working hours, just avoiding each other. Do you think it is still a safe solution to do this kind of plan?
The closest I can think about for safety, if at all ends we do need to reopen, my safest idea would be, not everybody coming at once, 50, 25%, or whatever is depending on the size of the company. They all keep a distance. They constantly sanitize. Nobody ever makes contact with each other. Masks are always there. Everyone washes their hands coming in and out. things like that, and keeping as many outside contacts away from the offices.
Yeah. I mean, yes, we can do our best, but it still seems like very far-fetched plan. But let's hope for the best. Thank you, Akbar. My next question is to Itmam. Itmam, you're currently working as an engineering technician, and for the majority of the time, you are aiding the engineering team in further development and testing of their designs. So I
Yep.
understand you work remotely as of now. Tell me
Uh,
this, for jobs that can accommodate remote solutions, do you think working from home should be the new thing to do? I mean, do you think this is more sustainable in the future?
so as for jobs that would require you to remotely work, yes, I do believe that that should be the new norm. However, unfortunately, with my technician job, it's becoming more and more present that I'd have to work on site to
Oh, okay.
test the boards that are coming in, or any type of new revisions that come through or programs, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to, uh, I guess, obtain the actual instruments that I use on my job. However, for jobs that, for example, like finances or any type of I guess, business aspect jobs, I feel like they should start to imply that non-essential, as in non-office workers that would have to be crucial to customer interaction, would have to do remote work, because it would just essentially make it easier for us to apply the safety
Hmm.
that we are currently lacking with everyone going back to work. Like my brother had said, if they were going into, say, half of the workforce into the office, the other 50% that can work remotely should work remotely. I feel that that would greatly increase the safety, whereas opening everything up at once would just resurge and we'd just be stuck where we were before.
Um, so I know that you just mentioned you work on your work is mainly based on going to the site and testing everything, and how
Hmm.
difficult it has been for you to do this. I mean, provided that we had a lockdown some time back, how difficult has it
Hmm.
been for you? Have you actually been able to do any testing at all, or it's just work has been stalling?
So as for work has been stalling, it's been going okay. The only real issue that the lockdown has had is that we are, I like to say, kind of severely undermined in the terms that when we are at the job site, we have our factory, which is a very large space, so everyone is maintaining social distancing as best as we can. And there's also very strict guidelines, like everyone has to wear a mask, and it's very, very clear that you need to consistently wash your hands, not only because of our safety, but because of when you're dealing with, for example, SMD components and soldering, you're going to need clean hands because if any gunk gets within the wiring, then it just ruins the circuit. But where I'm working currently, we are practicing everything that we should be to ensure that everyone is safe and that everyone is maintaining the guidelines and not breaking any type of rules, along with face coverings and again washing hands and whatnot.
Well, it sounds difficult, but I think part of the new normal is, taking care of everyone around you. And I think that is something that is amazing. Like we've all come together to believe that, this is the only way we can take care of each other. So thank you, Mom.
Yeah.
Moving on, my next question is for Nisa. So you're a
Hi.
freshman. Hello. So Nisa, you're a freshman and you've been working at McDonald's until the lockdown started off. So, in your
Yeah.
opinion, I want to go a little bit behind because I know that you've also been studying. So, in your
Hmm.
opinion, should online classes be more accessible even in a regular year for those who need it? I think I'm also trying to think that, we moved to an entire online base even in a regular year when there was no lockdown.
I think it shouldn't be like a whole full-time thing. I should definitely think that it should be an option because like schools shouldn't just wait for a pandemic to just happen for online measures, and it should always be available. So like for people, those who can't come to class for an emergency or if they're sick or not, there's always an option for
Mhm.
them to like not stay behind and yeah, just continue with their work. I think, yeah, it should be an option.
Also, like you mentioned earlier that you haven't been working at McDonald's since the lockdown. So tell me a little
Yeah.
about your experience. I mean, how uncertain do you feel, or has it been in a different? Like, do you look at it in a different perspective? That it might be for the better good. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's for the best because since I was working like 4 times a week and it would be not safe for my family when I come home. And so, yeah, just like that.
But I mean, like I would say that, do you still look forward to getting back to work in McDonald's? Because I
Oh
know
yeah,
Harvard
definitely.
would have a lot of limitations, especially because
Mm-hmm.
of the food industry. And I understand that you would be facing a lot of customers coming up to you, talking to you. So tell me this:
Yeah.
um, are you okay with that? Are you okay to face that? Because I think eventually, probably end of June, a lot of things will open up, and
Yeah.
there might be an ask for more people to come in. And what do you think? You want to be there, or you're still not comfortable? I'm sure you're not comfortable, but let's say that, are you okay to wear a mask for, because you will have to wear it for a long period of time, stand there, and it's not easy with a mask on, and making sure
Mm-hmm.
you change your gloves regularly because you're swiping a credit card. So what do you think? Like, how okay are you with this?
Honestly, I would say I'm not okay because it would just make me anxious. But if it is like very necessary, then I would have to like wear a mask and then be extra careful, like washing my hand or sanitizing every 10 minutes or so.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck, but I really hope things get better and you can get back to work, without
Mhm.
worrying so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Lisa. So my next question is to Farhan.
Hello.
You're studying, hello. So you're studying at the University of Maryland College Park, and you're also working as a technical analyst. Uh,
Yeah.
so you have been experiencing both sides of the world. That means like studying as well as doing a good, pretty much like a full-time job. So according to you, in person, working from home or working from site, what would you personally prefer to do?
I would prefer like working on site, but it's probably just because of the job I would say. But that is like prior to the pandemic. Like,
Mhm.
because like when I did work, I did the both things. Like I did it at home, and then I did it in front of people and things like that. And then there's also office jobs. And what I personally like doing prior to this pandemic is that I would like to talk to clients. It'd be an easy, nice discussion and communication. Things actually work a lot more efficiently because when you have like online like we're doing right now, like you have a lot of Skype calls that are very scheduled, and then you have also messages on different group chats. And I've been through my workplace where we can have different issues because we're either not assigned to the right proper like group chat or workplace, or like I think it might also just be like sometimes, when you try to talk to someone on like a call or a meeting, like it's very easy to like have it very long, one person talking specifically, and then you can't have someone else talking if after that, because that's the last time you ever really talk to them in that sense. So it's just one group of people you talk with, and that's it. In this type of like quarantine type of work from home that I've been doing, and yeah, just I also for classes in schools, it's online. Like we use in some cases the classes will just straight up not have an actual lecture going on. It may just be a pre-recorded video, like my psychology class, or with my Python advanced Python level class. It was a Zoom meeting, which had very mixed results. The first time we did the Zoom meeting in my class,
Mhm.
it was kind of a bit of a disaster because everyone was very quiet. There's not much participation going. This is kind of the same thing that happened in work pretty much. It's just hard to really get yourself engaged because of how like how you kind of like don't really do anything. Like you're not moving around, you're stuck in one place. You can't really know when to like stay put your voice up or not, because especially like you have a bunch of students, and then there's different students with their mics kind of interconnecting with the voices,
Mhm.
and that can also cause problems. But yeah, it's just pretty much so yeah, if ideally if it were possible, but it's gonna take quite a while. Like it would be good to go back and then just interact with people instead of this virtual type of aspect, because you're really just missing another part of like action you're doing, and you're
Mhm.
just kind of removing it
I
basically.
agree that. I agree on that completely. It is so important to see a face, to understand what they're saying, and to
Mhm.
interact is important. But for you, especially because in your case you're actually a full-time student as well, and
Yeah.
it's like you're saying that you're slicing the hours between going to work, commuting to work, and then you also have university to deal with. you still think it is a good idea that I still want to go to work? Because that's amazing. I would tell you, because I mean,
Um,
most days I would just not want to do that. But uh, you still think like you can manage, or it's even better that you're like with the quarantine. Unfortunately, it's not the best time, but with the quarantine, is it been easier for you to manage two sides of the coin?
well, I don't know if you misinterpreted what I said, but for now, most of my classes, it's just in my work, it's all
Yeah.
here, like in the office. It's
Yeah.
nowhere going anywhere as far as I'm concerned. So it's not a big problem. Although I did have a huge problem at UMB because their staff was very much reduced because no one was really there pretty much. So whenever I called them for, let's say, like a discussion with my major, or maybe some classes I need to add or discussion, we couldn't really go to an advising building over there by driving there. I would willingly do that, but instead it would just be like on a designated like voice call meeting, which I had a couple of days ago pretty much.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
on FaceTime and stuff. One interesting thing I like to mention though, because it's kind of important, I'm not sure if everyone had to deal with this, but when we did my exam for Advanced Python, it was kind of really hard to get used to because basically what happened is that, well, before I continue this, does any of you guys know what ProctorU is? Oh, you don't know what ProctorU is? Okay, so basically imagine taking a midterm or exam,
Mhm.
but it has like high amount of surveillance possible, like completely like transparent as a student you're gonna be because you're gonna have someone just watch over you completely, have access to your computer by telling them you want to give access to your computer, and then they'll just move your mouse around and then just need you to go do this thing and this thing. And it gets a little bit uncomfortable for me because they're accessing my computer and it's also hard to get the steps because the people who do the proctor use for those things aren't exactly like TAs and MC. They're kind of like third party team members basically. And that's also where it becomes a little bit discomforting basically. It's why we first did like for the first midterm we did it, but then the final midterm we just didn't do it because a lot of students weren't used to the idea of doing that pretty much. And then like the professor was like, no, we're not, I guess we're not going to do it again. Because it was interesting basically. Like you had to have you had something like this right here and you're taking the test as well. And then so they had to make sure, no tabs online. And they would even make sure like you couldn't have like,
It's like they're spying over you.
so like you have to like take the computer off and then move it down and be like, do you have anything sources? And like, is your phone right next to you? Like you gotta put it onto the ground. Like I'm not joking. Like they told you to do all that.
It is
And
discomforting.
so many ridiculous amounts
It's
of
very
stress that I did feel comfortable about it because it was kind of a bit unnerving.
Yeah,
Like
it is.
there was way too much going about it, and it's like this was a bit much. So that was a bit of a big
No,
problem that
internet is
I
a
had.
spy. Now it's like everyone in the internet is spying on you. It feels like that.
Yeah, it does definitely, but it's like this thing that my professor used was like really interesting. Like I think the biggest problem I still had, like the biggest distrust, is that it wasn't a part of the college. It was literally just a third party because they had to.
Okay.
So it was so yeah, it was that was pretty much it. But yeah, basically the consequence of having class as much as online as possible, especially if you want to be just like you want to, like if the professor wants it just like they want it to be, like no students looking over each other, no like taking things, because when you take tests, I think this is what students also know, you guys probably know more actually, is that they will cut down access to the internet
Mhm.
on like things. So like when you take a test and stuff like that, you'll probably just have your access on your internet down, and it'll just be that one site that you're allowed to go to. It'll be like very picked on what you can go to and what you can't go to.
Mhm.
So like they'll have that, but then when when the classes go into on like at home online and stuff and like that, like this is what happens, like ProctorU, like the whole surveillance and that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's discomforting. I feel the same.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully, I'm not in there right now, but definitely it is. It
Mhm.
feels different, and I don't know how we will get past that. But these are just new things quarantine's teaching us. So
Mhm.
thank you, Farhan. My next question is for Nikita. So Nikita, you are a program manager for Peer Health Exchange, and you would be joining NYU Silver's class of 2022 for a master's in social work. Um, with your kind of work, I understand that you help young adults make healthy decisions. So I want to understand your perspective that working primarily from home, does this have a negative impact on us over a considerable amount of time? And did you feel negatively impacted when you had to shut down, work from home? Because I understand that when you probably meet these young adults and talk to them, and you understand what they're going through. What has it been for you?
Yeah. So working from home, it's like depends on a lot of factors. And first, I want to start off by saying even the option to work from home really is from a place of privilege.
Mhm.
If your job doesn't offer work from home, it probably means you've been laid off or you're working on the front line as like an essential worker or serving folks and kind of putting your life at risk. And then also really depends on your work from home situation. And again, like privilege comes into that too. Do you have a place in your home? Like how many rooms do you have in your house? Do you have like your own separate office room? I don't have kids, but if I did, like, are you taking care of your kids? Are you feeding your kids, entertaining them? Are they taking classes? And do you have to sit with them? Do you have a special computer for them? So all of this really takes into account like your work from home situation. So it's really hard to speak on work from home as like in a general sense when everyone's experience and like ability to work from home just varies so much depending on just their privilege. But when you take all of that into account, if you're saying like, you have a place to do it comfortably and everything, I think the parts that are difficult is, humans have habits and we're used to a certain ritual and schedule. And so that being broken up is obviously difficult. And so with all this, it's change, and change can cause stress. And with change, you just need to really take time to figure out like what your new routine is. Like for myself, when I go into the office, I grab a cup of tea, I like gossip with my coworkers, I like ease into the day. And then also at the end of the day, I'm someone who keeps really strong boundaries of keeping work at work. And so then I like drive home and I'm done with work and I don't engage with any work related stuff once I'm gone. And so it's difficult when the place you're working, like your personal and your business is all in one. So it's really hard to create boundaries for yourself, especially when most people are used to spatial boundaries. You go to work, it's a different space. You come home, it's a different space. And your brain adjusts to that. They say like, don't even do work emails from your bed because your brain creates associations with physical space around you. So I think it's really difficult when everything is one, like there's no ritual of waking up and then you're just starting work, So I think it's hard to then, you have to really be creative in how you start creating these rituals and how you create these boundaries when you can't really use space. So like using time, like, okay, like really holding a really strong time boundary for yourself. Like after this time, I'm not going to do anything work related. It's hard because you're like,
It's hard.
You might continue to just do stuff and you're like, oh, it's 8 p.m. now. And there's no excuse of like, oh, I'm not like I'm at work or I'm at home now. I can't do that. You have to also kind of advocate for yourself and your managers and say, hey, I'll be in contact or available during these hours and these other times I won't. And then also humans are social beings. And so we kind of miss this social activity. When you have lunch, you can go to lunch with your coworkers. And so again, it's kind of, you have to be creative in like filling in these gaps. Like, do you have lunches with your coworkers, or is that too stressful? Or do you have screen fatigue? You're just looking at screens all the time. So even a Zoom lunch seems exhausting. So you just really have to figure out ways to change your habits in a way that's working for you, and like learning how to create boundaries to create a boundary between work and home.
Yeah, I think we really have lost that meaning, or it's a little more oblivious when we talk about work-life balance anymore. And we can see that because you're right that there is really no spatial arrangement at this point of time. We're just stuck on one phase, and then we just shifting off. Like we're working and we're doing something else. We're taking, like, I have a 4-year-old daughter actually at home, so I'm feeding her on the side. I'm having a meeting, and I'm still doing everything together. So I completely understand what you talk about, and thank you. It's pretty insightful. So thank you, Nikita, for this. Moving on, next we have sorry, we have Fahmi. Hey, Fahmi. So you are studying electrical engineering, and you mentioned that during COVID-19, internships were cut short. So I just wanted to know that have you been looking for an internship, and how has it been a challenge for you?
Yeah, I've been looking for internships and not just during the summer. I was supposed to be interning in Michigan from January to April, but as you said, it got cut short in mid-March.
Mhm.
The office shut down and my employer could not guarantee any work from home for interns. And the company is not planning to take any interns for this summer semester. I would imagine that's true for many other companies, and it might extend to the fall semester. So far, it seems like there's fewer listings available around where I live for co-ops anytime soon. And I'm not sure how long the effects will be. It does seem like a challenge.
Okay. And it does. So when you say it seems like a challenge, it's a challenge to find more work. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, just finding any listings available.
Right. Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't even understand how jobs are surviving in this with, so much happening. But yeah, I wish you best of luck.
Thanks.
And hoping that when this ends, you get something better. All right, thank you, Fami. Moving on next, we have Sajid. So, Sajid, you've been studying business at the Montgomery College, and you're a part-time employee at a fast food restaurant. So, a lot of people were, working at places that simply cannot transfer online work, like similar to yours. And how have you dealt with this situation, or how are you working on it right now?
So yeah, even with modern technologies, there's so many jobs that still requires you to physically be there and work. And I have one of those jobs. And as you know, I have not been going to work for quite some time. I think it's been over 3 months that I haven't been to work, or however long it's been. I stopped keeping count, you know. And but in my case, I got lucky because my employers are nice. They said that I could come back to work whenever I feel safe. And since it's just a part-time job, it hasn't been hard financially. So I'm coping quite well, but I understand that that's not the case for most people.
Mhm.
They've either like lost their jobs by choosing to stay home, or they have no choice but to go to work. Because there's so many places that had to be kept open to keep the economy going, like banks, power plants, restaurants, and whatnot, and of course hospitals.
Mhm.
So people are making sacrifices on both sides
Right.
by either choosing to stay home and losing their job in the process, and by having no choice but to go to work. It's a risk they're having to take. So yeah, I think we should really take the time and appreciate the efforts of these people. You know, the work that they're doing to keep things going and make our lives easier and better.
That's true. And I think, I mean, I can imagine, especially with fast food industries and retail industries, how could it be any different? We're just so used to picking food from a person who smiles at us, giving us, the kind of service we need, and we call it customer service. I just can't imagine how it could be any different.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those jobs that you'd have to be on site to work, that you just cannot transform it to like online services.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are some people that are, those employees are having to fill in their shoes. They have to go to work. They don't have a choice because the places are
So
open.
has your company decided, or I mean, have you heard about anything around these industries that are customer focused? I mean, coming up with any idea that is different from, that will be any different from what it has been so far.
So ever since the pandemic started, as we know, they stopped the dining in system. It's just drive through and people picking up their food. And there's so much more precautions that we are having to take.
Mhm.
And it's gonna keep going until things get better. And
Yeah.
hopefully things do get better soon.
I hope so too. And with that, thank you so much, everyone, for answering my questions. Thank you so much for all this insightful and opinions that you bring to the table. So, but this discussion is not over yet. You're not going anywhere soon. I would be inviting my lovely co-host Zarafsha Ahmed to take over from here. She would be opening the next set of discussions. So, dear viewers, thank you for listening so far. Please post your questions to these to this young bunch. They're ready to answer what you want to ask. So keep posting, and Zara, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all the participants. You guys have answered very insightfully, and I think this discussion is very important to have. So thank you for that. And to our viewers, please keep asking questions, because we're going to go into like the question and answer segment. So whatever you want to ask them, and it doesn't necessarily have to be related to the discussion from today. It can be any question you have, and it can be to the whole group or to just one person specifically, and we'll try to get to all the questions. So keep putting them in. And now we're going to take a little break, and because we have a little performance from Sajid here. He's going to sing for us, so get excited. It's going to be a Bangla song, so that'll be a fun treat. Okay, you can take it over.
So yeah, it's a Bengali song. Everyone knows this. সেই তুমি কেন এত অচেনা হলে, সেই আমি কেন তোমাকে দুঃখ দিলে, কেমন করে এত অচেনা হলে তুমি, কিভাবে এত বদলে গেছি আমি, ও বুকেরই শত কষ্ট দুহাত সরিয়ে চলো বদলে যায়। তুমি কেন বোঝো না তোমাকে ছাড়াই আমি অসহায়, আমার সবটুকু ভালোবাসা তোমায় ঘিরে, আমার অপরাধ ছিল যতটুকু তোমার কাছে, তুমি ক্ষমা করে দিও আমার। কত রাত আমি কেটেছি বুকের গভীরে কষ্ট নিয়ে, শূন্যতায় ডুবে গেছি আমি, আমাকে তুমি ফিরিয়ে নাও। তুমি কেন বোঝো না তোমাকে ছাড়াই আমি অসহায়, আমার সবটুকু ভালোবাসা তোমায় ঘিরে, আমার অপরাধ ছিল যতটুকু তোমার কাছে, তুমি ক্ষমা করে দিও আমায়, তুমি ক্ষমা করে দিও আমায়। Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you.
You also played the piano. I didn't realize you were going to do that.
Yeah, it's next to me. You couldn't see it, but yeah.
That's nice. Do you play a lot of Bangla songs?
Like not professionally or anything, just in my free time, casually.
No, that's amazing. And I think, have you been practicing not just Bangla songs, but in general a lot this quarter?
Yeah, since the pandemic started, I have nothing better to do but to play this.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So yeah, that's the thing that we could all use this time to get some skills,
Exactly. I used to play piano
really?
a long time ago, and I've been meaning to start
Yes,
practicing.
get back,
This is like the perfect time.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and I know a lot of you guys have like a lot of hobbies that you've fostered, especially during the pandemic. And so one of the questions I feel like a lot of people have is like when you're working from home or you're just like staying at home all day, your work life and your like regular outside of work life kind of blends together. Is that something you guys are also seeing in your like experience? Like, is it like hard to like differentiate between when you're working and when you're not working, when you're not physically leaving your space and you're not physically getting out of there's no like distinction between the two?
I feel like it's back to what Nikita was saying about that there should be some form of designation, where she was saying that like, you could allocate time. I mean, I work on site, so I wouldn't really be able to say. But I know for a lot of my friends that are working remotely or not working at all, they're kind of losing their minds, not doing anything, or just falling into this new cycle where there's no sporadic change or anything at all.
No, yeah. And I think, is anybody else, like, are you guys seeing yourself work more hours, even if you're not technically working more, but are you spending more time at work or less time? Are you having trouble being like productive? If that like.
So for a lot of the work that my company does, we work with college volunteers, and since they're not in school, there's like less work. But because there's kind of always a threat of layoffs, people kind of have to do a lot of like performative work to show that there is justification for keeping this many people employed. So it's not necessarily always, there is some pressure to show like, oh, we're not just sitting at home doing nothing, which I think can be problematic because it's not like we're sitting at home doing nothing because we want to. It's just what the situation has presented itself. We're staying at home so that people can be safe. But again, I think I mentioned before too, like trying to be, it really depends on your managers. I have really understanding managers, and if I let them know certain things that's going on, they're really willing to give me a day off for like mental health and stuff like that. But I think just trying to have like honest communication with your managers to see this is the hours I'm going to work, and creating strong boundaries so that you're not just doing a lot of work.
No, yeah. And I think one of the questions is, are people feeling more like pressure to do more work? Not that you're working from home, but also because of like so many people are being laid off. I know my teachers, they talked about this at the end of the year, that even though schools are likely going to like open up later, people are kind of scared that they might not have like a job sometime in the future because of like the economic turmoil. And so is that like affecting like that kind of anxiety? Is that affecting your like work, your, the way you're like coping with the quarantine? Is that something that's present in your experience right now?
I mean, there's certainly like anxiety involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the uncertainty that's going on, but I mean, of course it's not going to be a permanent solution, that's for sure. But for now, this is just how it has to go.
Yeah.
For the best.
Definitely. And I think a lot of people talk about, I feel like, the mental health aspect of it. Like it's hard to cope with. It's very like not socializing with people, and like all the anxieties from like different like stressful situations. But also I think there's an aspect of just like physical health, I think, for people that are just stuck at home. Do you think that's like something people should or are worried about right now? Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I know for myself, like there's a lot of apps and like free YouTube videos that have like free workout classes and everything. But I know for myself, it's I personally like going to like a class because it's really hard for me to self-motivate and just watch a video and do it. Like I'll watch it and I'll do every other move because I'm too lazy. So even though there's all these resources that you could do, finding self-motivation, especially during this time when it is a pandemic and people just aren't as motivated as they want to be, it's hard to then also do more physical stuff, even if there are free resources out there. So just self-motivation can be hard during this time. And yeah, like I think there's just pressure you're like, oh, I have all this free time. What should I do with it? And just feeling okay with not doing anything because it is a particular time and there's stressors and there's a reason why you feel anxious, you know? And I think we just are so convinced that we're wasting time if we're not doing anything productive. And so I think also being okay with yourself to take this moment to rest. And even if that means like watching reality shows and eating a bag of chips, or, you know, if you do have the motivation to learn a new skill or to work out, that's great. But it's also okay to not do anything and give your body some of that rest.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think it's definitely important to do like as much as you can do, but I feel like a lot of people kind of don't really realize exactly, like it kind of all just like blends together, so you don't really realize just how much you're like letting yourself go. I'm like, so I want to ask like Nisa and like Fahmi and Farhan, like what about you guys? Do you guys like, are you guys, I know at the beginning a lot of people, me myself included, we started like taking walks and stuff, and now it's like I feel like the novelty of it has like worn off, so I don't really find myself doing that anymore. Is that something you've seen with you?
Yeah, it's the same for me too, because like at the beginning I used to like start painting, or like I was trying to be as productive as I could, but then as the months passed by, and then now we're like in the 3rd month or the 4th, so it just started like draining me out. So yeah, it's kind of like that I can't find the motivation to do like Nikita said. So yeah, that's my part.
Yeah, no, I think it is can become like draining just to even make up your decision, like make up your mind about doing something. Like you said, there's like so much free time to do so many things. You can't like, it feels a little overwhelming to just even like choose one thing. Yeah. Did you want to say something, Farhan?
I mean, personally, I'm easy to please. I mean, I could easily get into our routine and then enjoy that. Maybe because things don't feel like a routine before I had this pandemic happening. It is interesting you talk about like anxiousness and letting yourself go, though, however, because this is a little bit of a tangent, but from not for me, but from my family's perspectives and stuff, like they used to stay up late at night a lot, actually, like really late, especially during like Akbar mentioned, like during like the Ramadan time. Like people would stay up really late, and it made them even more encouraging to do that because there's nothing to wake up to and go to, pretty much. And it became kind of an issue for them, like they mentioned before. Me personally, I don't really have that much of an issue, although it could depend, to be fair, because I usually get tension headaches sometimes due to stress. And I guess you could say that it might be because of the stress, because as a family, we don't actually like stay with each other too long, actually. Maybe this isn't really exactly healthy, but back then, my dad would be going out somewhere very far doing his own thing. Maybe my mom will come along with them. I would just probably stay at home or something. My sister especially, it's kind of similar to my dad. They would just go out as much as they can, try to take the car to go somewhere. And now it's been a bit different, pretty much. Like I think either today or just usually I would just go drive out to go pick up water for us. That's like one of the things I normally do. Like these days, there's not much. Maybe my dad might go to like the banks and then pick up some money, but it's always very limited, basically. So like from a mental health thing, we are kind of like I guess sometimes wasting our energy, not necessarily because we're using too much of it, more we're not using it properly. So there are some ways we try to like use it most of the time, like going to physical health. Like my sister and my dad and I pretty much like try to like go swimming as often than we thought. It's a little spoiled of me to say, but we have like a pool, so we usually go swimming a lot very often than we usually did before. Like it was like when we had free family bring over, we'd come and they'd come swimming us, but now it's like become mandatory that we do it like twice a week or 3 times a week. And then like Nikita mentioned, we have those like workout routines we do and things like that. Like that's one of the things. But I think the other consequences of like mental health, I think would be I um I think it's just like what we can discuss basically. Like I think the very big problem that can really cause big issues is that if you stay very long and then you wasted too much energy trying to talk about something because you're more of a doing type of person, you end up kind of bringing out the negative things and stuff like that. Like sometimes the dinner conversation you might have might bring something out that's a bit critical of us, like in our family. So we try to like be conscious about it and realize, oh, it's because like we don't really have much we can like distract ourselves with. So we're kind of just took all the things we said about, hey, did you meet this person or hey, we talk about this, and then now just going down to, oh, did you know the cases for the numbers of COVID went this time and then this day, and then just becomes really nasty, pretty much. So it's like so like now my family's just after dinner we're gonna go watch this episode like every day, like one episode after another to keep ourselves off of this.
I want to add to kind of what Farhan is saying. Farhan brings up a good point in that you're spending so much time with family that sometimes it's like we're not used to so much time with your family. And so this is also where communication really becomes important. Just because you're around everyone all the time doesn't mean they can read your mind. And you don't have the same personal space as you once did. So it's important to just communicate a lot. Like I know for a fact for us, because we're around each other, sometimes I just assume my mom and my brother know something that is on my mind, but I never really said it out loud. So it's important to do that. And then two, sometimes it's okay to say, hey, I'm not in the space right now to talk. Like I need a moment, because we're around each other so much. You know, there might be tension. So sometimes just walking away and saying, hey, I just need some time to myself, and really advocating for that for yourself.
Yeah. I think boundaries are very important right now because there's just like feels like there isn't any like space to make them. I think especially for people that have a lot of people living in their house right now, a lot of them, everyone like always at home. And I think in terms of like tying it back to like the original question about working from home, a lot of people are also working from home with you in the house. And so is that affecting your work or your like work ethic when there's like multiple people working at home with you or working and there's just not enough like boundaries and space? Is that something that you've seen that's come up in your experience?
If I could add something, with the whole lack of boundaries thing, I feel as if it could get very cluttered. I mean, again, I'm not speaking from experience. I'm just speaking from observations. I feel like if you, for example, if you're in a completely different field than somebody in your household, and you guys are both, say you have to share the kitchen table or something, I feel like it could get very like aggravating very quickly because your mind will be on one thing, the other person's mind will be on the other thing, and if you're both in this close proximity. For example, why most offices have dividers, because most people are working on different things at the same time, in the same field and different things. But to be in a place where there's no boundaries, no separation of fields, no separation of groups of study or jobs, it ends up becoming more frustrating to do your job properly. At least that's what I'm seeing from my friend group.
No, yeah, definitely. And I think just being in like not a public area, but in like your kitchen working, I think it can be hard when like someone else isn't working because like the kitchen isn't just for like work, you know, someone's like getting like a snack. That can be just like distracting in itself when you don't have like a designated workspace, I think. Or even if you just don't want to be working in like your room all day, it can be hard to move somewhere else where there's like other people doing other things. So I definitely understand that.
I mean, I'm only saying that just because, like, for example, when I'm cooking or I'm making something, I hate when there's more people in the kitchen because I like having that space to, cut the vegetables here, prepare the meat there, and I can see if I were to apply that to a business setting, it would be extremely aggravating. Say I'm doing something here, and then someone else's papers get involved with my papers or whatnot, and then it could just be a big mess for me, a big mess for the other person. It just stifles productivity.
No, exactly. I definitely get that. So this is gonna be the last question, I think, that's on the screen. And Rashid Ahmed asks, as public places like your beaches, parks are opening up, do you guys feel like going out to these places? I guess, like, do you feel safe going there? Or do you even feel like the need to risk going out there?
I'd like to talk about that.
Yeah.
Personally, I would say I would love to.
Mhm.
I'm just not going to because simply, again, everything's just unsafe. And these are places that are not necessarily easy to clean, easy to control. Like a beach, somebody goes to a beach, sand's shifting, people throw their stuff around. There's always going to be garbage. There's lots of wildlife, seagulls, crabs, etc. You can't control things like that, It's open boundaries all the way to the ocean. And, and parks as well. It's like, sure, some of them are like gated off, they got walls, but there's lots of wildlife, open air, people all over the place. You're not going to have sanitation workers following everybody around saying, oh, this person just got off the bench, let me clean it. Oh, that person coughed, let me go check something out. Like, you can't really fix anything. You can't control something though. Like an office though, like you can clean an office, obviously. You can clean your house. Everything's easy to see. There's who came in, who came out, and what's been touched. Small space. But places that could be like miles long, you just can't do that.
No. Yeah, I think it doesn't feel like worth the risk. Like, even if you are going to try to like have a lot of precautions to keep it clean or keep it like safe, I just feel like if you're going to have to do all of that, maybe probably is not worth opening it up or like going out there. I don't know.
Yeah, even like thinking even farther, like if Times Square was to reopen, that would be a disaster as well. You can't, there's thousands of people going in every hour. You can't control that.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you everyone for engaging in this discussion. I think having this opportunity to talk to each other and like share your just experience can be helpful and like empowering for everyone that's either watching or just talking. So thank you everyone. And I hope you guys found this helpful or just, comforting during this time of like isolation. So now we're going to take a moment to present a few things that people have done. So Nisa, Nikita, and Core, they've done a lot of like crafty, creative things. And so they're going to share a little bit about it. So I think Nisa is going to first share her paintings and her drawings. They're incredibly beautiful. And so you can take it away.
All right, so this is the first one that I did. This is like a painting of a road trip, and that's Mars over there. So this is like inspired from a song called Faster Car by The Loving Caliber. And they have this lyrics called "Look at beautiful stars, I want to take a trip to Mars." So it's like that, like, and it makes more sense during quarantine because you can't really go anywhere. And so when everything's going to open up, you're like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to go there. So that's like an exaggeration. So, and then I also have this painting. This is a character from one of my favorite animes that I've watched. It's called Attack on Titan. And yeah, so growing up, I did a lot of art, like anime style. I've never really stuck through like drawing nature and stuff. So yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. And this is also one that I did during a small portrait. I found like a cardboard, this like a peaking moon, and then pink clouds that I did during quarantine. Because at the end of the day, this is what you see, like at night, because you can't really go anywhere. So yeah, that's the moon, the only view that you can see. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. I like how like abstract some of them are and how like creative some of them are. So do you do a lot of the first one? Do you do a lot of like get inspiration from like songs and stuff? Because I think that that have you done? Are any of these? Did you do any of these during quarantine?
Yeah, this one I did during quarantine, like this one, the sky paint.
That's cool. Is this? Are you doing like a lot of like artwork during quarantine?
Yeah, I am. Like I started drawing since I was like very young, but then during like school years and then college, I've kind of like stopped because I didn't really have time, and then I have work, and then suddenly like during the quarantine, I have like so much time and stuff. So I started like, no, I should just go back to my roots. So I just started drawing again.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now we're gonna move on to Nikita Apu. She's gonna share. She does a lot of gardening, and she has this beautiful garden, and she has pictures she's gonna share with us. So, and she's gonna talk a little bit about her garden too.
Yeah, so during quarantine, again, I'm lucky to have access to space that I can go outside and garden. I know it can be hard if you live in an apartment, like there's ways to do it, but you definitely have to be more creative. But yeah, this is kind of like a bean trellis I made with just some like sticks and yarn. Hope ideally in a few weeks, beans will start crawling up. Next. This is a hibiscus plant. They're so pretty. I should have used my hand for scale, but they're practically the size of my hand, like my palm. We have a lot of tropical plants in our backyard. Next. Yeah, there's just some other, my mom planted some marigolds around. There's another hibiscus. Next. I forget what yeah, so this is a bunch of our veggies. In the planters, we have potatoes. So this is also another great way, like if you don't have access to like a backyard, you can practically grow any veggie in a planter. So you can, like there's potatoes in that one. And so you could put potatoes, carrots, turnips, like tomatoes, anything you want in a planter, it'll grow. So you just have to be a little bit more creative in what container you use to grow it in if you don't have a backyard. And then, yeah, there's tomatoes, there's okra, there's cucumber, eggplant, chilies, there's some spinach. They're all kind of in their baby modes of growing. So they're not as big and lush yet, but hopefully in a few weeks they will be. And then I think there's a few more pictures. Yeah, that's a new plant I really love called lupine. Not new in this world, but new to me. Next. These are some baby purple basil. It's just nice every morning talking about rituals. Like every morning when I wake up, I have my breakfast and I have tea and I look outside to all of my plants and notice every small little thing that's growing. And so especially when they're so small like this, you can see the change day by day really evolve. And so that's a way I try to stay grounded. There is some quote, I forget who or where, I'm just gonna like paraphrase it, but it's, if you garden or you plant seeds, that means you're optimistic and believing there's a tomorrow and that you believe in hope. And so I really liked the philosophy of that gardening and being connected to plants means that you believe in a tomorrow and you believe in the future. So. And yeah, that's a lot of cilantro. We're Bengali, so there's never enough dhone pata that you can have. So
yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. I really like the philosophy of kind of watching your garden grow and like hope and being optimistic about tomorrow. So I think that's very helpful, especially right now, for people to have that kind of hope and kind of have that drive to, get up tomorrow and do something. So that's beautiful. Is this something you're only doing during quarantine, or is gardening something you've done for a while now?
Gardening is something I've done for a while now. My grandma has a green thumb. My mom has a green thumb. And so even when we lived in an apartment in Queens, we had a lot of plants. And I lived in San Francisco for 5 years, and I don't have a backyard, but my room has like 30 plants. And then my living room has another, like a bunch. And so that's what, like, you could just be really creative in how you planned and like making it in your space. Like you can take a can and, you know, drill a hole in the bottom and plant some, you know, put some like seeds in there and see what grows. So you really can grow things anywhere. It just livens up the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
But quarantine has allowed me to really dedicate like more time to it. Or typically maybe I just water or do a few things here and there. Now I dedicate at least an hour a day doing something.
Exactly. And I think it's definitely one of the things that can keep you busy. I know my parents do a lot of gardening and like taking care of plants, and it's kind of like a full-time job, but I think right now it definitely has you like so busy and like, as you said, grounded. I really like that, like literally grounded. So thank you for sharing. And I hope your veggies grow up nice and luscious sometime soon. Okay. Now we have Akor, and he's going to share a couple of pictures that he took. He's a photographer. And he's going to talk a little bit about the pictures that he's taken and share a little bit about them.
Yeah. So my pictures necessarily aren't from quarantine, but I've re-edited some of them during quarantine because I was like, I might as well go back to things I can't take pictures of right now because, you know, I can't go out. This one was a friend of mine. I took this at an abandoned mental asylum in Kings Park. You see he's at the end of a beam right now. He just sat there and I was like, this looks really good right here. You can just be right there. It looks really nice. Next. This one was my uncle. This was this is a state park also, somewhere on Long Island. I don't remember which one it is. I just saw him sitting there. I didn't tell him to pose or anything. I just walked up and saw him and I was like, this is beautiful. So I just took the picture right there. I don't even think he knew I took the picture still. He's just kind of there.
A candid.
Yeah. The next one's another candid, but this one's my friend Dan. I intentionally told him to pose. I just told him to sit there with his ukulele underneath this tree. I messed up the editing on this one recently. I completely desaturated it when I meant to have more life in there because there's a lot of pink and stuff that I didn't put in.
Yeah, you can vaguely see it.
Yeah. And then we got my friend, also Dan. This is his ukulele. This one I actually properly colored. These are all some of these pictures right here that include this ukulele and my friend Dan. We're out in the college to go to, SUNY Farmingdale. They have this garden there, and it's always blooming. It's always beautiful in the spring when everything's redone. And it's garden. It's completely green. Everything there is built naturally. There's no synthetic materials. Everything there is clean. Everything's wooden, stuff like that. And I just say, when I put the ukulele there, I'm like, this just looks nice. Wood with wood and grass in the background. This was out in the city. Can't name the street. Got another one of my friends, told him to pose. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Or is that? Oh, there's one more.
And there's one more. Also, this is also in the same garden I was talking about at my school. Beautiful colors. I just love taking pictures. I like making photos that put an emotion to them and putting the colors to go with the emotion. Like this picture was more naturally green, and I had him just sitting there and he looked a little like down. I was like, making it nice and green and pretty would be like putting it out of proportion. So I made it more orange, so it looked like there's like something heavy going on.
So do you photography like as a hobby, or is that something?
Photography for me is really just a hobby. I'm not really looking into being a professional. I made an Instagram page for it, but I've had it inactive for all of quarantine because I can't go out. In my local camera store, because I do film photography. All those pictures, like for one of them, I did with like cameras from the 70s. So I can't really go anywhere because camera stores aren't considered essential. So the one person I used to go to get my film developed, he's not open. So I have nothing to do, nothing to process.
That's cool. I mean, I think that's cool. And like the editing especially, I think, is that something? I know people take pictures all the time, but like having like the dedication to like edit it and like
editing is 2/3 of photography, honestly, because you can take a good picture, right? But a picture itself isn't going to have the power you're expecting it to without proper lighting, without proper colors. Everything needs to be balanced together. Angle is only one part of it. You need to have, everything has to be perfect at all.
Right.
Like all those pictures I had sent, like all the film photography pictures, they look modern as if they would take it from a camera today. But if I showed you the original picture, there was a lot of dust on it. It was very desaturated. The colors weren't there. I had to redo it. I had to go into Photoshop, change the colors, make everything warmer, make other parts brighter, get rid of all the dark spots. Everything needs to be put together to make it nice, much nicer than it really looks like.
No, yeah, that's incredible. I don't think people really realize that like the amount of work that goes into developing like a professional looking picture.
Yeah,
that's cool to have an insight into that. So thank you so much for sharing the process and the pictures. They're very beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes. And
all right, so we are almost at the end of the program, so but please don't go away yet. We still have a slideshow that we end our program with. But again, thank you, Zarafsha. You did an excellent job. Thank you, Farhana. I mean, without you guys, it couldn't have been possible. And all the participants, and thank you so much. But Mo and Zarafsha, if you had a few words before we get to the slideshow, feel free to say your concluding remarks.
Sure.
Thank you to all
Sarah,
the
do you want to tell them about the next week's topic?
Oh, yeah. And so thank you for everyone that joined today. And thank you, Faisal Uncle, for, again, putting this together. But next week, you guys can all join in. And if you want to contribute to the discussion, also send in, say that. So next week, we're going to talk about the protest that's going on right now. And just like the situation with like George Floyd and all the other incidents that kind of led up to the resurgence of like the Black Lives Matter movement. And so we're going to just talk about what that means and what we as our community could and should be doing regarding this. So if you feel like you want to talk about this and discuss this matter, please come and join us.
Excellent. Thank you both. And so again, as Zarafsha and Mo said, please join in and encourage your children. And again, this is such a powerful platform, I like to repeat. And just imagine the intelligent discussion that we have been having every Saturday morning. I mean, when I hear these kids talking, I mean, I was like, oh my goodness, how intelligent and bright these kids are. And these are the kids who will be ruling the world. As I always say, we have very, very few leaders in the world. We need more leaders than soldiers. We have so many soldiers. We don't need any more soldiers. We need leaders. And that's the best way to boost up our next generation to become the best leaders in the world. With that, I'd like to invite you for next week, same time, Saturday at 12 noon. Eastern and from around the world. And with that, let me conclude and see you next Saturday. And please enjoy the slideshow and don't go. And thank you again for all your support. Take care. Bye-bye.